Hi, everyone. It is so good to see you again, even though I can't actually see you at all. But welcome back to another episode of Everyone a Reader. We are back here for episode 2 of season 2, featuring the amazing Miss Tammy Nimmer. Now, Tammy's a pretty cool person. Let me tell you why. So Tammy works at my school. She's on my 3rd grade team. She's EAL support, and she works with us here in 3rd grade, as well as 1st grade and KG1 and KG2. So she has a busy workload, but she took time out of her busy schedule to chat with me about reading. Another great thing about Tammy is that she has so much knowledge about exercise, and I don't know if it was before she became a teacher, but she has all these certifications, water aerobics instructor, all these different kinds of aerobic exercises. And so we used to work out together all the time. And she's just super smart about it and really, really motivating. She's got that Miss Tammy's boot camp kind of thing going on, which I always need when I'm working out. And shout out to Sally, who is my student this year, and Tammy's daughter. So her daughter is actually in my class this year. So we have that connection as well. And she's just overall a really cool gal who loves books. And you can see in our conversation how much she loves memoirs and the reasons why memoirs are a genre that I find particularly amazing as well. So yeah, it's a great talk. It's always a great talk when we're talking about books, right? So stay tuned to find out what makes Miss Tammy Nimmer a reader. Here we go. Okay, Miss Tammy. Okay. Hey, Tammy. Welcome back to Everyone a Reader.
Season 2.
Season 2. You're season 2, guest 2.
In the 2nd month.
In the 2nd month, yeah. What do they say? First the worst, second the best,
Do they still say that?
No, that's what I always used to tell my older sister, because I was the second born. Okay. Enough about my childhood naughtiness. Should we talk about reading? You want to talk about some books?
I love reading. I love books.
Awesome. Okay, so let me start with my first question, which is, what is your favorite children's book? Which might be a book from your own childhood, or maybe something that's been published more recently.
When I was a kid, let's see, I was really into Care Bear books. Gosh, do you remember the Care Bear books?
Love
Care Bears. With it. That was it, mostly. Care Bear and Cabbage Patch books. I don't really have one specific one that stands out, but I know that one of them had a character named Sally. I think she was the new kid at school. So that must have really stuck in my mind somehow.
Yeah, I think so. Shout out Sally. Hey.
It's around somewhere.
In the room. Sally, who is Tammy's daughter and my student for, the viewing audience. Just to clarify that. Yeah, that's awesome. Care Bears, one of my favorites. And Archer, my son, he has a Sunshine Bear. That's his,
Does he?
Been sleeping with that thing for years. It's so adorable. Funshine Bear is what it's called in the books, but he calls it Sunshine Bear.
Oh, okay.
The yellow one. All right. Love it. Okay, next question. What is your favorite genre to read, and why do you like it?
I read a lot of nonfiction. For some reason, I can't get into a lot of fiction. And I think of nonfiction, I've been reading a lot of memoirs lately, which I'm not even sure what that is, what the actual definition of a memoir is. But when I think it's different than a bibliography or a biography, not a biography, that it's like a smaller snapshot, isn't it? Of a point in someone's life. Do you know who the memoir guru?
Well, I only know this because I recently looked it up because I was also thinking about that. And I just wondered what was the difference. And that's what it is, an autobiography. Although I was explaining this to someone. Okay, so my definition, my understanding is an autobiography is this story someone writes about their whole entire life, like from childhood to the point that it's published, I guess. And then a memoir is just like sections of their life.
Okay, good. Then
Yeah.
we're on the same page.
Right.
I think that's how I understood it. Because I like reading about just somebody's interaction with, a particular time in their life and their, perspective changes from something that happened to them rather than like the whole story of their life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Memoirs, it's my favorite genre, I think. Well, I have a lot of favorites, but that's top 3 for sure. Have you read anything really good lately?
Yeah, I have been reading a lot of really good memoirs lately. I think I started kind of last summer, last spring, and then I read a lot of kind of like woke books. Is that a genre? Can that be a genre?
Woke books. Yep.
About someone's like personal experiences with either like growing up differently or a snapshot of racism or the civil rights movement in the United States. And that's been really, really interesting. And even just modern takes on, because I read like Michelle Obama's book too, which I guess it was a whole biography, but it was a lot about just her time, being first lady and what it was like to be in the White House and stuff like that. So I think that would be maybe starting to branch into the memoir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Fiction books are ways, you can jump into lives, stories, places that like you could never live, right? Realistic fiction. But a memoir is like the same sort of thing, but it's like their real life. Like it's the biggest thing to build empathy, I think. Just reading through this experience that you could never have, would never have, and seeing, I don't know. I always feel like the memoirs I read they're so eye-opening and really challenge my own thinking, especially like what you're calling woke memoirs.
Maybe because they go deeper in a smaller period of time, like a couple of years, and then you really get to. I think I noticed when I was reading this summer one of the Maya Angelou books, which I know she has like 5 books that span the whole biography, but they're broken down into, which I hadn't known until I read. What was the name of it now? Can't remember the name of it. And it was just a 2-year snapshot of her life.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now you got to send me a book list because I want to read all those as well. Okay.
So I'll tell you who I share a book list with.
Tell me.
No, at the end of every year, Obama sends out like his 10 favorite books. And so I've just been going off of those.
You're Obama book buddy?
Yeah. Hello. I mean, he doesn't send it to me or anything. He sends it like out and then I found it.
Dear Tammy. That's my Obama. Okay, third question. We're getting way off track here. I love it. In your opinion, what makes a good reader?
I like this question, but I also don't like using the phrase like good or bad reader. And I try to steer, when I talk to parents about that, and I get asked that a lot, especially in grade 1, parents are like, how can my child be a good reader? And I try not to have them look at like a good reader versus a bad reader, because what is a bad reader like? I mean, would we call somebody a bad reader? I personally wouldn't, but.
Oh, yeah. I've never thought of it like that, but that's, super insightful. Thinking about the opposite of it. No, we would never say a kid is a bad reader. That's insane. Even my kid who's 4, even my 3-year-old, He's a great reader because he can turn pages, you know?
Right? Yeah.
Huh.
So kind of my canned answer when I talk to parents about that, I think a good reader is just anybody that interacts with books, that takes books off the shelf or sits with them and pages through them or spends time with them or is interested in them, or, you know, that's just having books around makes somebody a good reader. And that's like the first step in everything.
Yeah.
In being like the world's best reader, you know, just have all of that around and have opportunities for reading. That's a good reader. We're all good readers, I guess.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Question number 4. What is a strong reading habit that you have, or something that you're like, you want to work on? Strong reading habit.
Thought about that. I've thought about it in January, because I never make like New Year's resolutions. But I always tell myself I'm going to read more books this year. And sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. And then this year I was thinking, well, why am I really not reading as many books as I want to read? And do you ever know those people that are like constantly reading? Like when they have 5 minutes, they're reading. And I have this block where I feel like I can't read unless I set aside a chunk of time. I'm going to like get in the spot. I'm going to get in the zone. Nobody's going to talk to me. I'm going to ignore my kids for 20 minutes. Mom is reading, you know, and then it's such a commitment. So why can't I just be one of those people that's like, hey, nobody's talking to me right now. I'm going to read a couple pages out of my book, right? Or like I'm sitting at the dentist's office, I'm going to read a couple pages. So that's kind of my goal. And now that I've started reading more like ebooks and I have apps on my phone and stuff, I'm like, ooh, it's prayer time. I could read for like 7 minutes right now.
So it sounds like
they're in the back seat and I'm like, just don't kill each other. I'm gonna read.
Well, knowing your kids, they'd probably get out their own ebooks as well. They both love reading. Yeah, so it sounds like maybe taking away the mindset that like reading conditions need to be perfect in order for you to do some good reading. You just like want to get down and dirty, and when you have some time.
Yeah, so I've started, and now like even sometimes I'll cook dinner, I'm like stirring something, I'm like, oh, I could read for 2 minutes, and I'm always present in the book rather than saying I have, you know, tomorrow night I'm going to read for 45 minutes.
Yeah. You know? I find that is easier with, I guess, like less challenging books. But yeah, sometimes I'll read books where I know that it's a stretch for me. Like something I'm reading now is hard for me to keep track of the characters and everything. And I really have to dedicate time to that. Like I can't sit down. I can only get through like half a page. And then I have to stop and think and be like, wait, what is happening? And what are the characters doing? And like, it takes a solid 3 minutes to get back into the world of the book so that I can like continue comprehending. But that's not every book. This is one that it's really good, but it's really hard for me. But yeah, anyway.
I can see that too.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Question number 5. So imagine you've just finished the most amazing book, like just so good. Mamma mia. What is the next thing you do right after you close the book?
So since I have been reading ebooks lately, like I think the last 4 or 5 books I've read were all ebooks. I close the book and then it's like you can immediately like go back to that shelf in the library and see what else the author has or what's like it or other, you know, similar titles or whatever it is. Or you're like, you're in a bookstore and you just finished the book and like, ooh, what's this one? And so that's what I love about reading ebooks lately too, is I can immediately, I get a little bit of satisfaction. Okay, so immediately I hit, you know, return library book, even if it's not due yet. Because then it just
early?
Get that satisfaction. I'm like, I read it. I'm going to return it. And it feels good. It's like, oh, I read the whole book. And then because I know that there might be a waiting list.
Yep. And
then you can go to the next person. And then I feel like I did a little service, you know.
Very compassionate.
Like, I have 4 more days and I returned it early. Thank you, next person in line. You're welcome. And then I look at what other titles are similar to those titles.
Yeah. Cool. I love it. That is a very big perk of, reading things online. I'm doing, I log my books through Goodreads. And so every time, if I say I finished a book on Goodreads, then it'll say, okay, what's next? I'll actually get an email the next day, like 12 hours after I finish a book. And Goodreads will be like, hey, Caitlin, I saw you finish this book. What are you looking for something similar? Here's a list of books. I'm like, thank you, Goodreads.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Okay.
It is cool. It's exciting, isn't it? Because then you see all these other books and you're like, oh, my mind is blown with what to read next.
It's amazing. Okay. Last question. This is a tricky one, but just go with your instinct here. Okay. Why do you read?
I think I read for the same reason that I travel, because I want a different perspective and I want to see how other people live and what life is like out there.
Love it. And it fits very nicely with your favorite genre, which is memoir, right? Really getting into the shoes of other people and seeing how they live. And awesome. Have you read, speaking of getting into other people's shoes, have you read Daring to Drive? That's the memoir of the Saudi woman who got arrested
She recently got released.
Yeah, no, in Dhahran for driving. I think she was released back.
That's a different woman.
No, yeah, different woman. I don't know. I can't remember her name. I'll send it to you. But I think it's on my wall somewhere. Anyway, that was a really interesting one. And basically, she's our neighbor. She worked for Aramco, actually. And anyway.
Oh, okay.
It was a really good
one. And she was driving before it was legal to drive.
Yeah. Yeah, when it was illegal. It was like a form of protest, and she started this Facebook campaign and got a bunch of followers. And then so she went out one day with Facebook Live on her, and then she got caught and went to jail. And it's really, really insightful. And not only about that event and that thing happening, but just how she grew up. I learned so many things about Saudi culture that, I was living here for 4 years when I read it. I had no idea about any of that stuff. Anyway.
Cool. I'll check it out. I'll put it on my list.
Living in someone else's shoes. Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have. This was a really good time, Tammy. You always put me in such a good mood.
I hope 20 people really enjoy watching this.
All 20 of them are going to love it. Oh, I'm excited for them. All right. Thanks again.